Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your Game of Thrones live review and discussion. And I gotta tell you all, this episode had some bright moments to it, but I don't know how far of a limb I'm going out on when I say this might be the most anticlimactic, disappointing, infuriating episode of Game of Thrones I've ever watched. And that's not even, ignoring the Red Wedding, because that shit actually made sense. And everyone that made decisions in that show made decisions that made sense to me. So I just, coming away from this episode, the more I kind of was able to sit and think about it, because the episode ended around 10:20, it's 11 o'clock now. So we've had a little over a half hour to kind of think about it. And the more time I've had to think about it, there are a lot of things about this episode that I did like, and really specifically the Daenerys Targaryen character. I think that they've done a really good job of keeping that character consistent, and the writing of her has really made sense throughout the entire series. But so much other stuff about this episode that I hated. John, can you kind of bring us in here so that I don't have to keep talking about what I hated about this episode?
Game of oof, am I right?
Jesus Christ.
Damn. Yeah, look, man, I ain't gonna be any softer either. There were things I liked about this, especially because I'm a very broken human being and I definitely have issues. So I can't wait to talk about the things that I really enjoyed. But so much of this, man, it oscillated between disappointing to downright infuriating. And the things that really pissed me off, like we'll get to, because you know how we do it, you guys. We go scene by scene. But the things that really made me angry, I'm sorry, like my anger will mellow out with the passage of time, and maybe the series finale next week, which we'll be covering on Tuesday because of Money in the Bank.
Monday,
excuse me. We'll be covering Monday because of Money in the Bank. But maybe that'll work out. Maybe it'll be great. We don't know. But if this was the precedent, if this was the foundation you were laying for the series finale, it doesn't inspire confidence at all. This was really bad, dude.
I get though why Emilia Clarke said that episode 5 was even crazier than episode 3, because her character literally went crazy in episode 5. So
yeah, and originally when the episode ended, like the first thing I said to you was, "Hey, brother, did the episode end for you?" Because I didn't want to spoil anything for you, and you were like, "Yeah." I was like, "Am I the only one that was underwhelmed by it?" And you were like, "Oh, I wasn't underwhelmed. I was downright pissed off." And the more we talked about it, the more I realized, like, I'm not just underwhelmed either. I'm downright pissed off. Save again for a few scenes and a few moments. But yeah, man, let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
All right. Well, we kind of start. What I thought was really interesting, we do start out seeing Varys writing a letter about the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. And what I really found interesting about this is that we saw him sitting at the same desk writing later on in the episode. And I'm guessing, based on the rate at which he was writing this letter, wasn't writing the same letter both times. So if I had to guess, I would say he probably wrote this letter about the rightful heir to the Iron Throne to more than just one person. And the one that we saw him burn later on in the episode was definitely not the only one. And he probably burned that as a way to destroy any evidence that he ever wrote any of those letters. So that, I think, is a really interesting thread that should play out in episode 6, is all these letters that Varys has been writing. And I'm assuming it's more than one, because again, we saw him writing in 2 different scenes, and there's no way that he was writing enough for it to have all been one letter. And if it was all one letter, he wouldn't have just burned it there before he got taken to die. But we see him writing at the very beginning of the episode, and then a little girl who he refers to as Martha tells him that Daenerys isn't eating, and that all of her soldiers have been kind of really like on the lookout. And he's just like, well, yeah, that's because they're doing their job. So not really too much of note here, other than, like I said, Varys writing this letter. And John, I'm curious, do you kind of sign on to the idea that he probably wrote multiple letters about the heir to the Iron Throne?
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, first of all, he better have. Just from like a character standpoint, because again, I know there were things about certain characters that infuriated us within this episode. Varys has been, from the jump, a very intelligent, calculating character. I don't even say calculating like pejoratively. Like, he's a guy that thinks through his moves. He's strategic. So for him to have written multiple letters like that, to me, is totally in line with the character. and I hope for the character's sake that that's the route that they went. I gotta be honest, brother. Like him writing and like interacting with his spies, like one last time, before he died, in Martha, that was some of the best stuff in the episode to me personally, because I feel like that was one character that was like really committed to his cause, died for it, and I feel like he died before they could ruin him any further. Now they could ruin him retroactively if like it was only like one letter, not a lot of word got out, and Daenerys was able to do whatever. But yeah, no, I totally agree with your theory. I totally agree with following that thread, and I can only hope that it bears true that he did write multiple letters and that we really get this going. So good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, so then we see Jon arriving at Dragonstone, and the Northern Army. He does kind of fill Varys in. Should be arriving at King's Landing in 2 days. Varys tells Jon that he wants the right ruler on the Iron Throne, and kind of reveals that he knows about his heritage, his parentage. And Jon just kind of reiterates that he doesn't want the throne. And then Varys kind of doubles down. He's just like, you will rule wisely and well. But Jon just isn't having any of it. So then we see Tyrion approach Daenerys and fills her in on Varys. And she's like, someone's betrayed me. And Tyrion's just like, yeah. But she thinks it's Jon. She thinks it's Jon that betrayed her. And he's insisting that it was Varys. But she just is like, well, he knows the truth about Jon because you told him, and because Sansa told you, and she knows because Jon told her, and Jon was the one that swore to me not to tell anyone. And so she sees it as Jon having betrayed her all along. So she's pissed off at Tyrion. She's pissed off at Jon. She's pissed off at Varys. But Tyrion is really kind of snitching here on Varys, basically saying that like Varys wants to serve Jon as king now. And she's also pissed off at Tyrion for quote unquote not letting Sansa down, because he told Daenerys that Sansa trusts him, and then she was just like, yeah, she trusts you to not be able to keep a secret, and you didn't let her down. So that was kind of what that kind of came down to.
Yeah, honestly, dude, I was so fixated on the scene that Tyrion would share later in the episode with Jaime, but remembering this scene, I think I actually full-blown hated Tyrion in this episode. Like, yeah, I really did not like him at all. I don't know how you felt about, that character, but yeah, and that's hard for me to say because he was like one of my series.
Well, for me, the dislike of Tyrion started more last episode because of him just being unwilling to budge and just like, you pick a person that you believe in and you stand by them. And Varys was really smarter there because he was more like, you know what? You might want to pick a person you believe in, but you can only believe in them as long as they allow you to. And as soon as they show you a reason that you can't believe in them, that's when it's time to hop to a new ship and get off the sinking one. So I was firmly on Team Varys between the two of them, and I was very disappointed that Tyrion would fall so easily to confirmation bias the way that he did.
Yeah, dude, the character used to be so much smarter than this. I just really disheartened with Tyrion these last few episodes, and this was no different. Then I really just got pissed at him. I'm like, you're a fucking moron. Like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, and then snitching on Varys like that, I'm like, you fucking bitch. So yeah, it was a good scene, and they played it well.
And the thing is, he was doing it to cover his own ass, and he still ended up on Dany's bad side. Like, if he wouldn't have told her and she found out, he probably would have gotten burned alive as well. But him telling her probably saved his own life, but it also cost him Daenerys' trust. Like, she basically stopped trusting him at that point. Like, she was already struggling to trust him because he trusted Cersei when he shouldn't have. And now, like, Jesus Christ, like this is, she probably has it in her mind that Tyrion, like, and then she even said, like, you went to Varys before you came to me. Like, that was her biggest problem with it. So she probably feels betrayed by Tyrion as well, because again, like, the hand of the queen goes to someone else before the queen herself with news that big. Like, I don't know, man. It's you could clearly, like, this is why I keep saying though, like, the Daenerys character was really well written because it's consistent. Like, she is her world's already fallen apart. Like, she's lost every friend that she's ever known. Her brother's dead. Her ex-hubby is dead. Jorah's dead. Missandei is dead. Varys betrayed her, Tyrion in her eyes betrayed her, Jon betrayed her. Like everyone that she's ever known and or loved is either dead or in her eyes at least has betrayed her. So she feels like a completely isolated, she feels completely isolated from everyone. She feels miserable. Like she feels completely alone. She feels alone in the world. She feels like everyone's like just either dead or betrayed. Like she's in a terrible place. So her snapping the way she did in this episode, to me, as frustrating as it might be, and as disappointing as it might be to see a character that a lot of people thought would be a hero turn into a villain, it makes all the sense in the world in my eyes.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that's just what trauma does, and like that's the thing. No matter how strong Daenerys was throughout the series, no matter her pedigree, where she comes from and stuff like that, trauma is trauma, and like she's only human, and you really see it wear her down on the course of the series. And you've seen like little moments of her maybe not being the best ruler, like again when she liberated the slaves, and then they had the uprising and everything that she wasn't there to control. But you always had faith that, like, well, she's surrounded by people like Varys and Tyrion, and she'll learn proper governance.
Yeah, and I was even talking to the guys that I'm in that fantasy Game of Thrones league with Abel. I was talking to them, and it's just like every moral compass that she's ever had is either dead or, in her eyes, has betrayed her. So again, it comes back to like this episode showed us what Daenerys looks like without a moral compass that she feels like she can trust.
Exactly. And it's horrifying, you know? So yeah, like because again, I was even telling you that I've seen a lot of think pieces come out recently, like, oh, Game of Thrones has failed Daenerys and, Game of Thrones and like their female characters and this and that, even though I still feel like Sansa's doing really well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, if you're into female characters whose last name isn't Stark, you have an argument, but both the Stark girls that have been really kind of focused on since the beginning of the series, they're still alive and kicking and arguably even doing well in Sansa's case.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. And so like I find that to be a bit uncharitable again, especially when one brings to light what you said about Daenerys suffering so much loss and everything. And then this really did it. Because dude, here's the thing too. I don't want to be that guy because again, there was a lot I hated about this episode, so I don't want to like go and defend it. But when I feel like something's unfair, it's unfair. We knew like her father was the Mad King, and I think just constantly emphasizing that, which the show did, I feel like that in its own way was kind of tipping its hat to, hey, she comes from this, and they keep saying she's not going to be like that, but usually, in shows, for as much as Game of Thrones subverts tropes, like it's kind of a telltale sign, like she's going to go down this path. So I feel like there was a lot of signaling there, even very early on. I understand.
I would say as early as the season 1 finale, when she walked into the fire and stuff, like that whole setup was just like, okay, this woman's clearly not right in the head,
Exactly, yeah. So like I'm not trying to invalidate.
And even then you could argue that was justified too, because she just lost Cal, and I don't remember the whole thing with her son, but she might have just lost him too. But like, yeah, like she goes into the fire, and we don't know exactly how she ended up with the dragons, but all we know is that she walked into the fire and everyone thought she would die, and then she didn't, and she got dragons. So that was the whole thing there.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not trying to invalidate anybody's, feelings or their upset about, the writing of Daenerys, but I do feel like her arc of like going there and seizing the throne by the means with which she did it in this episode, that at least was logically consistent. They were building up her going there and doing exactly what she did the whole freaking time. Like every season up until this point would end with Daenerys having some kind of triumph, whether regaining her dragons, building an army, whatever, because they knew she would storm the proverbial castle. Now she stormed the castle. So I'm actually totally cool with this. This is actually something I had no qualms about because they laid the groundwork from this from the get-go. So, no qualms here whatsoever. But yeah, what came after this, man?
Yeah, so I was just thinking about something that I really want to try and remember. Remind me to talk about what I tweeted about tonight when we get to the end of this episode.
Sure.
So, once Tyrion kind of snitches on Varys, we kind of go back and see Varys writing this letter, and he lights it on fire and puts it in a container with a lid on it, and then takes his rings off and puts them in another container. And then Grey Worm and Daenerys' men show up, and they take him to Daenerys. Tyrion and Jon were there. Tyrion comes clean to Varys about being the one that told Daenerys, or to Varys about being the one that told Daenerys. And then Varys says that he hopes he deserves this because he hopes that he's wrong. Like, that's his whole thing, is like,
Yeah.
he hopes that he's wrong about Daenerys. He hopes that he really was, unnecessarily treasonous. He hopes that he deserves to be killed by Dragonfire because of his treason. Because if not, if he ends up being right, then it's bad for the people. So it's just him staying true to his character of wanting what's best for the realm. And I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. I think Varys might have actually snuck in my top 5 after this, because like to the very end, he didn't plead, he didn't renege on his cause, for the sake of his own life. He was he was honorable. He said, "I want to be wrong, but I just don't think that I am." And yeah, he actually the guy
that's basically how I am about Money in the Bank lately. Like, I'm picking Drew, but I hope I'm wrong because I want Andrade to win.
Exactly.
Obviously, that's not as serious of a matter as what Varys hopes to be wrong about, but it's a similar concept.
Bro, I gotta tell you, just kind of shooting a little bit, like, if I'm the actor that played Varys, I'm grateful that I died here, because my character got wrapped up fucking nicely, and it made
dude, he had a complete character arc. Everything made sense. They didn't betray his character in any way, the way they did with Tyrion and fucking Jaime.
Yeah, like he got out before the whole bullshit storm, and he could even reap further reward depending on how those letters work out if he did write multiple.
Yes.
So, yeah, like the Varys character, if you're a Varys fan, because I was a fan of both him and Baelish, like when they first debuted together, I was more of a Baelish fan, so you could see how that worked out for me. But yeah, Varys, when he said, like, my duty is to the realm, and he stood by it, and now he might be totally vindicated in the series finale, and I think that'd be so cool for the character. I feel like I did fucking well if I'm the actor of that character. Like, yeah, you can all have your bullshit. I did my fucking job. I'm the only one that came out clean in this whole fucking thing. So, yeah, exactly.
Made out like a bandit.
I will say too, from a more aesthetic standpoint,
he died of old age on a ship right before it sank.
Exactly. But I did just want to say, before I pass it back to you to go on to the next scene, I wanted to point out, because I just hated so much about this, but what was good was really good. The cinematography and like the aesthetic, the dragon looming behind Daenerys with the sentence. That was beautifully shot.
I mean, say nothing else about this episode. If there's nothing else to say about this episode, nothing else positive, this was one of the most gorgeous, most beautifully well shot episodes of the series. Even if the writing was not on point, the shot and the cinematography is incredible of this episode.
Oh yeah, everybody that was a part of making that happen, I don't hate you at all.
Your writers betrayed you.
Yeah, your writers betrayed you, and I am so sorry, because you were the only ones that showed up for work, apparently. That incredible. Just incredible shot. Very chilling, too. Very few, like, because I'm not, like, like, you're the bigger Game of Thrones fan by far between the two of us, but, like, that scene gave me goosebumps. I'm like, shit, it's going down. Like,
and then the really interesting thing to me too is that Daenerys doesn't even give Varys last words. She just straight up's like, I, Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, blah blah blah, all that shit, sentence you to die, Dracarys, and that was it. Drogon burned him alive, and that's just it. That's the end of Varys.
Yep.
Hey, man. All right, so after Varys's death, we see let's see. Oh, we see Daenerys and Grey Worm chilling by a fire, and she talks about how there's I don't know if it was like, I think it was like a collar or something like that Missandei brought over from Essos, and they, she gives it to Grey Worm, and then Grey Worm tosses it in the fire. Jon shows up, and Grey Worm is like trying to protect Daenerys, and she's just like, dude, chill, stand down. And so then Jon kind of walks up to Daenerys, but she just fucking scolds him. She's just like, oh, I told you that what would happen if you told her, and all that shit. And she even goes as far as to say that Varys's death was as much Sansa's fault as it was her own. Like, bitch. And how more people in Westeros love him than love her. And then Jon says that doesn't matter because I love you and you'll always be my queen. Man, Jon is really fucking pussy whipped, isn't he? So then,
man.
Daenerys asks if that's all she is to him, his queen, and she kisses him briefly, but he kind of pulls away, and she just has like this, well, alrighty then. And that might have even been the moment when she was just like, oh, well, I've lost everyone else. If I've lost you too, fuck it. I'm burning that city to the ground.
Like, that really did seem like it. Well, if this isn't going to be Wincest, well, then I guess I'll just burn everything.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That might have been her moment where she goes from like, this man is my last hope in the world. As long as he is willing to be by my side and rule alongside me, I'm willing to be, kind of reasonable, and I'm willing to, just take a victory by forfeit. But as soon as he pulled away and she knew in her mind, like, he's never going to be able to be with me now because he knows that I'm his aunt and he doesn't fuck with that shit. She just knew. She was just like, all right, well, that's it for me, man. I'm out. I'm gone. I'm going to go ahead and burn the city to the ground. I hope you guys had a good time. I hope that you make it out alive. But quite frankly, I don't really care that much anymore.
Yeah, Jon, I mean, we've talked about you knowing nothing, but you made every conceivable wrong move these last few episodes. You wouldn't even give her the D for the fucking innocent lives that were lost. Like, god damn.
And it's funny too, because then we even transition to her sitting on her throne on Dragonstone and Tyrion trying to talk her out of burning the city down to save lives, and talking about, oh, Cersei's followers will abandon her if they know the war is lost. And talking about how if she hears bells to call off the attack, and she is like hearing him, but it's very like in one ear and out the other, because she's still talking to Grey Worm like they're going like full frontal assault, and Tyrion just kind of sulks away. And then she also ends up telling Tyrion while he's trying to walk away that Jaime was stopped trying to get past their lines. And then she says, it seems he hasn't abandoned your sister after all. Next time you fail me will be the last time you fail me. And, yeah, kind of correct, because it's free Jaime.
Can I just say, I'm so happy you said it, because look, I'm always willing to be the whipping post for being a piece of shit, but it's just so nice to see somebody else take the brunt of it first, because I'm listening to Tyrion talk to her, and I'm like, how wrong can one person possibly be? Like, because I'm just listening to him talking, I'm like, how many excuses do you have? And you know what, dude, like, I just got to say something, because again, I've already established, like, between the two of us, I want to make perfectly clear to everybody, like, filing in or that's been here, this guy over here in my corner, Commentary Ashton, much bigger fan of the show than me. But, and I do have to say this, I love Tyrion from episode 1, season 1, like, from the beginning. I cannot tell you, dude.
From when he was the god of wine and tits.
Exactly. Like,
I said it backwards, but yeah.
I cannot tell you, as a guy that like had a genuine fandom attached to this show, how fucking heartbreaking it is to see the character bastardized like this. Because I am like, you have been made such a fucking fool these last few episodes. And like, people had grievances with Tyrion in the past that I like won't go through, but like I was always able to overlook it, because I'm like, you know what? He's an intelligent character and he knows how to play the game. Well, don't I look like shit now? Because Jesus fucking Christ. And here's the thing. I understand, because we've had characters before, and I've actually enjoyed this, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, because like I'm even thinking about certain anime that I watch, like Naruto and stuff like that. We have characters that are very skilled, very adept, but they have a blind spot. I get that. I've seen that trope before in a lot of shows and a lot of different genres. The thing is, though, you learn from the fucking blind spot. You grow from it. You engage it. The idea that Tyrion hasn't engaged in the introspection of, maybe I've just been wrong about, my whole family. Maybe Cersei really is that irredeemable. Because even last episode when he's like, you're not a monster, it would have been really meaningful if after everything he would have been like, well, I guess she is a monster. I guess she needs to be put down. But like, he never has that engagement with his blind spot. He never reassesses his thought process. I mean, even putting aside his thought process about Daenerys, which I almost get that because it's fear. Like he is afraid of her. I get that, but you're so far removed from Cersei at this point. You're honestly telling me that a man of your intelligence can't reassess, you know, maybe she is a monster, actually. Maybe she does need to die. It leaves such a bad fucking taste in my mouth that a guy who in one of the early scenes, because you know at this point I can't remember exact seasons and episodes, but when Shay was still a part of the show, and he that was after the battle that Joffrey had where they were trying to, you know, quote unquote
Blackwater.
Blackwater, yeah, the Battle of Blackwater, and he gets the scar on his face, and Shay's like, leave with me, you know, we can go anywhere. He says, I can't leave. I love the game too much. Well, you certainly don't know how to fucking play it. For a guy that loves the game, and I even defended him in that scene. I'm like, look, I get it, man. I get when you love something that much that nothing else matters. Like, I feel that. But it's just so cheap at this point. Like, where is that guy? Where is that guy right now when you're finally in the thick of the fucking game? When the game is almost over, where is that guy that said, I love it. This is where I want to be? Because right now it looks like you want to be anywhere but in the game that you claim to love so much. Like, that's what I'm saying, man. When I say that for guys like him and guys like Jamie, oh, this seems to be a 180 for the character, we're not just talking in isolation of like 1 or 2 episodes. We're talking a whole fucking series that spanned years. And man, they did my boy Tyrion so fucking dirty. I don't even care like if he gets some reward or some payoff in the series finale. Some of the things they've done with him to me are unforgivable. Like, goddamn, man. And you know what too? Like, and I hate to play that card, but I have to say it because I rarely talk this extensively on these. But like, to have a guy in the actor, because I already mentioned the actor for Varys, the actor in Peter Dinklage actually be a dwarf. Like, this is the best disability representation I've ever seen on television. Like, a disabled character that the family hates because he's disabled. They've mentioned that. Like, you're the monster of the family, you're the shame of the family, and he's smarter than everybody, and he's sophisticated. And again, he plays the game so fucking well, despite it being a game surrounded by a system that doesn't care about people like him. Like, that's the best representation, even though I don't share that disability, like, that I've ever seen on television. Because everything else, even if they get some things right, it's always like you got to do the cheap jokes or the cheesy plugs or whatever. And this was an honest to God fucking character. And it's really a shame that they did him like this, man. Really a fucking shame. And he sulks away, and I'm pretty sure his fandom sulked away with him. Because Jesus Christ. But yeah, Daenerys, I don't blame her. Just to bring it full circle from what you said, like, yeah, kind of. I'm glad you said it because I actually agree with the fucking Mad Queen. Like, how fucked up is that? Like, yeah, you fucked her so many times. Like, no wonder she's almost done with your ass. So, yeah, I completely sided with the villain. The hardcore Tyrion stand from the word go. And now I'm siding with the Mad Queen. Fuck this episode, man. God damn.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And it's not that you're siding with her, you're just like empathizing. Like, you get why she's doing what she's doing.
I want to fucking do it at this point. Jesus Christ. Like, that scene, what was it, dude? Like, was it last season or 2 seasons ago where she made him his hand? It was such a beautiful...
That was at the end of season 6, because that was, I'm pretty sure, the same episode that Cersei blew up the keep.
Right. Okay. So yeah, 2 seasons ago, when she does that, dude, it was such a moving scene because it's like Daenerys is learning to trust, and Tyrion. Again, I just went over from like the disability standpoint, how his family was just so done with him, and like, oh, you know, you're the shame, the embarrassment, whatever, and to finally be recognized for his talents by somebody, especially somebody that like we know her ambitions, and like she's gunning for the power in this show's universe, and for him to be recognized by that person. That's fucking huge. And then to go from that moment, which was so powerful, to this, to her almost taunting him, like, oh, I guess your brother lied after all. You know, you were wrong again. And Tyrion looking like a fool just breaks my heart, man. God damn. But anyway, I'm sorry for going on so long. That was just my first rant of this episode. What came after this, man?
Your first of many, I'm assuming?
Possibly, man. Possibly.
Yeah. So then we do see Tyrion asking Davos a favor. And Davos, you know, he's talking about, you know, Tyrion says, oh, you're the greatest smuggler alive, aren't you? And I love Davos. He's like top 5 favorite character for me in this show, especially if we only count living. He's just like, I'm not going to like this favor, am I? And we never find out what the favor was, but it's probably safe to assume that the favor was like something involving Jaime and like hitting Jaime in a certain spot so that Tyrion could free him.
Yeah.
So then we see Arya and the Hound riding in on horses, and some dude is just like, "Oh, who are you?" And Arya's just straight up, just like, "I'm Arya Stark. I'm gonna kill Cersei." And the guy's just awestruck, and Sanders says, "Think about it. If she kills Cersei, there won't be a war. You might even manage to not die tomorrow." And then they just go, man. They're just in. Like, that dude just doesn't do anything. He just watches them get in. I kind of love that, though. I just like, I love too, like, this sense that all of the soldiers in the army and all of the civilians and shit don't want to fight for Cersei. Like, they don't like her. She's not their queen. She's just the queen that happens to preside over them. And yeah, like, this dude is just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, he doesn't actually say anything, and I don't think we ever actually see like a wrap up to this, but obviously they passed him because we see them enter the Red Keep later on in the episode. So that's a thing. Then Tyrion, we see Tyrion demand to be one-on-one with quote unquote the prisoner. It ends up being Jaime. And he kind of uses his status as Hand of the King or Hand of the Queen, I guess it would be, to get in. And he offers to free Jaime, but basically he wants Jaime to try and convince Cersei to change her mind. And if he fails or if he can't get to her, he needs to get in a boat and sail to Pentos. That's kind of what it all comes down to. Jaime is just like, look, man, I've never been able to change her mind. Why the hell would it start now? And I love Jaime is even like, well, Cersei always has called me the stupidest Lannister. And like, somehow or another, he manages to come off as more clever than Tyrion in this scene, I feel like, because he's just like, dude, how would I be able to change Cersei's mind? I've never been able to do that with her. And Tyrion doesn't even realize that. And then Tyrion's just like, Cersei, like, she's got this kid. You know, that's reason for her to compromise. That's reason for her to not want to die. And Jaime knows that that's the exact reason that she never will. Like, Jaime understands her way more than Tyrion does. And Tyrion just keeps hammering in, like, dude, the city's going to fall tomorrow. Like, it's going to happen. And Jaime is just like, well, you never know. And Tyrion's just like, no, seriously, it's going down. And yeah, so he makes Jaime swear that he'll sail to Pentos if he fails. Wants him to ring the bells and open the gates. And if Daenerys makes it to the throne without riding a river of blood, and those were Tyrion's words, maybe she'll show him mercy. God, imagine thinking that Daenerys is going to show anyone mercy at this point.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh man. So, like, first of all, let me just ask this as a prediction for next episode: is Tyrion still going to be her hand? Like, is she going to find out that Tyrion freed Jaime? And I mean, if not, then I mean, it's probably safe to assume he'll still be her hand. But if so, is it going to be like, I told you that the last time you failed me would be the last time you failed me, and now you have to die to Tyrion? Like, is she going to try? I don't know, man. I'm worried because, like, she's going to be the queen now. I mean, she's going to be the queen of the fucking ashes now, but she's still going to be the queen, you know? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Honestly, dude, I don't even know what I want to see happen to Tyrion in the next episode. Like, ugh. But I mean, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if she did find out and was like, you know, I fucking told you, and now, you know, this has got to happen. Like, because if I let you get away with it, how are my subjects going to follow when they disobey the queen? So I think she may use Tyrion as an example. I could absolutely see that happening, dude. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. So yeah, Jaime even points that out too. Like, she's probably gonna never forgive you for this. And Tyrion is just like, you know what? It's tens of thousands of innocent lives versus the life of one not particularly innocent dwarf. Seems like a fair trade. And then he also kind of has an emotional moment with Jaime where he says that if not for you, I never would have survived my childhood. You're the only one that didn't treat me like a monster. You were all I had. And then they hug. Tyrion leaves after, you know, unlocking the neck chain on Jaime. And then we kind of get to the battle, I guess. Or no, we don't get fully into the battle yet. We do see the Iron Fleet, though. So before we get to the Iron Fleet, did you have anything else you wanted to say about the Tyrion Jaime thing?
I mean, I really did like it to be charitable to this scene because their bond, to be fair to the show, has always been strong, has always been, like, you know, legitimately brotherly. So I really did enjoy this scene for that. But again, just Tyrion showing his stupidity and Jaime actually understanding Cersei better than Tyrion when Tyrion's supposed to be the clever one, the cleverest of the Lannisters. I mean, that's always going to rub me the wrong way, but the sentiment behind the scene I really enjoyed. So that's all I want to say about that. Let's move on.
All right. Well, next up, we got a view of the Iron Fleet. They're all in the bay, ready and fully stocked with scorpions. You know, King's Landing streets getting cleared out. Sandor and Arya managed to get inside the walls, and Sandor is kind of using a hood to hide his identity, while Arya is just like, I don't give a fuck, and she's just out there. Like, she might as well just be sticking her neck out there because she really does not give a shit at this point. Jaime also is in there, and he kind of heads past the Golden Company in an opposite direction and tries to get into the Red Keep. Actually, I think we do see him get into the Red Keep. We see Daenerys' army lined up kind of, you know, a good distance away from the city wall where the Golden Company are. Tyrion tells Jon about, you know, if you hear bells, that means that they're surrendering. And we see Cersei watching from that same window that we've been seeing her at in recent, like we saw her there when back in season 6 when she blew up the Sept. We saw her there in this season when she told Euron about her pregnancy, all kinds of stuff. People are just kind of flooding into the Red Keep. And then we see them close the gates, but we also see Sandor and Arya make their way in. So we know that those two are in. And that's right. They do end up closing the gates before Jaime can get in. So Jaime did not get into the Red Keep. We see him then go through like a back alley. And then we also see the Iron Fleet. And this is when the whole battle kind of begins. So before we get into that, is there anything you wanted to say about like the positioning and stuff like that?
No, nothing like that. We can keep going.
All right. Well, we see the Iron Fleet and we see Euron, and he kind of gets stopped in his tracks because he thinks he hears something. He turns around to look, and he ends up seeing Drogon. Scorpion time, and he pulls it back, and he gets ready to fire. And when they do fire, they miss. And Drogon is able to basically destroy the entire fleet pretty easily. I mean, I'm sure there was some bobbing and weaving going on there to just be able to not get shot, but manages to get through the whole thing. And then there were still scorpions on top of the wall, and they take their shot and also miss. And then Drogon is able to destroy them as well. And I do want to point out, like, I'm saying Drogon, but anytime I say Drogon from this point on, it's pretty much implied that it's Daenerys on Drogon. Like, obviously, Drogon isn't acting on his own accord. Daenerys is on him and kind of leading him around and, you know, calling for Dracarys a few times and stuff like that. But yeah, Drogon ends up destroying all the scorpions before they can get off a second round. And then we see the wall behind the Golden Company literally explode because Drogon comes up from behind and Dracarys the shit out of it. So the Golden Company get taken out like complete jobbers. And, you know, Daenerys' army charges, and we see Harry Strickland, like, all kinds of disoriented, and he tries to run away, probably ends up getting killed. I don't even remember. Oh, Grey Worm was the one. Grey Worm Wednesday ended up killing him. So Grey Worm got a big kill there, killed Harry Strickland. We see, you know, tons of Dothraki charging through the city, killing any Lannister soldiers in the streets. Drogon flying around, clearing out the rooftops, getting rid of all the scorpions that could potentially kill him. Just a lot of death. And then we see Tyrion walking through the carnage left behind by Drogon. And we see Qyburn inform Cersei that all of the scorpions have been destroyed. The Iron Fleet is burning. And the Golden Company are pretty much all dead. And he's just like, listen, this is not the safest place right now. And Cersei just kind of stands what she's been saying. Like, the Red Keep has never been breached, and it won't be today. And then Daenerys' army shows up and stares down the Lannister army. And Tyrion is like really paying attention to the bell. Like, is the bell gonna ring? Is the bell gonna ring? And then we see Jaime kind of, I don't even know exactly what he was doing. I'm pretty sure he was trying to get into the Red Keep from like a back alleyway that not everyone knows about. It's like a Lannister thing. Kind of like the way Tyrion knew the way into Storm's End. Or no, not Storm's End. I forget what it was called. I actually forget the name of the Lannister home, whatever that is. But Yeah, man. So there's just a lot of destruction, and we do end up seeing seeing Jamie, or not Jamie. We saw Tyrion walking through everything and talking about the bell and shit. And then we see Drogon land on top of a building, and the Lannister army just basically surrender. Like they start dropping their swords, backing off, and then we hear civilians and soldiers start shouting, "Ring the bells! Ring the bells! Tell the queen to ring the bells!" And Cersei never says anything, but eventually the bell does ring. And before we move on, what do you have to say so far?
I enjoyed this scene. I feel like they built the tension very well. With Cersei, you can clearly tell that she's intimidated, but she's
Yeah.
trying to hold strong. Like, oh, we're fine. It's kind of like that dog.
She was all arrogant too, like Qyburn talking about, like, this isn't the safest place to be right now, and she's just like, oh, the Iron Fleet still hold the bay, and he's just like, no, they're in flames. It's like, and then the first thing was like, oh well, we just need one good shot, and that was when Qyburn was like, all of the Scorpions have been destroyed, and then she was like, well, at least the Iron Fleet still hold the bay. That's burning. Like there's just like series of Cersei just being beaten down with facts.
Yeah, which I mean, that's the only beatdown she would get, unfortunately. And yeah, so like I enjoyed the tension. I enjoyed the confidence of Cersei being chipped away, and yeah, like them ringing the bell. Like it's funny how Cersei again shows her vulnerability and her fear, because I think the only reason she did that was to kind of save her own ass, knowing that the other mechanisms that she had in play were completely disposed of. So yeah, we saw a lot of fear and vulnerability from Cersei, which I wanted. See, that I wanted. It's just the way it was handled and executed that really felt lacking to me. But we'll get to it. We will get to it. But yeah, I guess we can move on.
Well, I mean, moving on means talking about the shit hitting the fan, because once the bells ring, that is when Daenerys transforms into the Mad Queen. And it's not just her, but apparently she has informed Grey Worm to join her in the killing of innocent civilians, because she freaks the hell out. She gets this look on her face and makes like she has Drogon make a break for Cersei, it looks like, but then she like turns and starts burning the city down that she's supposed to be trying to win over and trying to want to lead. Like she's trying to rule King's Landing. She's trying to rule all these people, and she just starts burning them alive. Like she completely snaps, full blown Mad Queen. We see Grey Worm pick up his spear and throw it at the guy that we're presuming to be the leader of the Lannister army, killing him. And the Targaryen army attacks the Lannister army, who have literally laid down their swords. And Jon was completely not expecting this, because he was just standing there disgusted. And we see Daenerys, Grey Worm, and most of the Targaryen army on this killing spree through King's Landing, just for the hell of it, just because. I guess it's for revenge. I don't know. We see Davos trying to help people. We see Jon trying to stop everyone from doing this. Some guy in Daenerys' army was like grabbing this woman. It looked like he was like trying to pull her in, like he was going to try and rape her or something. And Jon stops him. But then the dude lunged at Jon and he had to kill him. And then he told this woman to find somewhere to hide. So like the shit completely hit the fan. Daenerys lost her fucking mind. And she's basically like, I'm pretty sure she and Grey Worm were in on this together, because they have been kind of buddy over the last few episodes, because they've kind of bonded over losing Missandei. And so she and Grey Worm are kind of leading these charges. She's burning everyone. Grey Worm and his whole army, all of the Unsullied and all of the Dothraki, are just murdering everyone that they can find, men, women, children, doesn't matter, innocent people. And Daenerys has fully lost it. And like Grey Worm, I can forgive a little bit more, because he's pissed. He's got a lot of rage to take out on, and he's already kind of a fucking psychopath. Like, in order to be a member of the Unsullied, you have to literally kill a baby in front of its mother. So immediately, like, the Unsullied are already kind of fucking psychopaths to begin with. So Grey Worm, less surprising. Daenerys, though, has fully snapped. And like I said, I'm pretty sure Jon refusing to be her hubby was like the final straw that broke the Mad Camel's back.
Fucking Jon Snow. Yeah, man. Seeing John take a principled stand in the midst of the fucking slaughter.
Yep.
I'm not saying I don't necessarily appreciate it, but Jesus fucking Christ, like, everybody was trying to tell you, man. Everybody was trying to tell you that this woman's like got fucking issues, especially your family. Like that's what I don't get.
Has there ever been a greater example in the history of television of don't stick your dick in crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, when your own family, because both Arya and Sansa said, hey, this isn't good news. Like,
Yeah.
fucking shit's going to happen if you stay this course. And he's just like, no, no, she's great. She's great. Everything's great. We're all going to be great. No, no, John, seriously, you got to stay the course. No, she's so pretty, though, guys. Like, no, no, she's great. We're great. Oh, my God. And then when the slaughter's finally fucking happening, if I was Sansa, I know I say this often. It's like become kind of my trope. I would like astral project before him while the bodies are fucking dying, just to shake my head and be like, told you twice. And then just evaporate. You were fucking told, bitch. You were fucking told what would happen. And you still like fucking committed to this shit. That's why I think I'm really annoyed by him and Tyrion. Nobody listened to fucking reason. Nobody listened to people that were established by their experiences to be intelligent characters. Whether Varys on Tyrion's side, Sansa on Jon's side, you're all fucking stupid. Like, for not listening to these people. Hell, even Arya, who's been around death more than anybody, right? Fucking join the League of Assassins to like serve the god of death and everything. Like, she can spot this shit. She can see it. She was in the thick of it for that whole arc. Even she said, "Yeah, your queen can't be trusted." Oh no, you're wrong. You know nothing, Jon Snow. Somebody that fucking tells you you don't know anything, you dumb piece of shit. Oh my God, I hated this. So yeah, I guess move on before I ran anymore because we got a lot more to cover here. So what came after this?
I mean, that's the thing is this is pretty much the episode. Like, there's this just like this big fucking slaughter. We see. I mean, even after the whole situation with one of Daenerys's soldiers trying to rape that woman and Jon saving her and telling her to go find somewhere to hide, we see Jaime trying to get to. It seems like because there's a boat right there. I'm thinking like, oh, he knows that the shit's hit the fan. He's gonna get on that boat and sail to Pentos like he promised Tyrion. But it seems more like he was just passing the boat on his way to Cersei. And then we see Euron. Euron shows up. He recognizes, listen, the city's dying. It's over. If you, if you kill one more king, they'll tell stories about you. They'll sing songs about you. And then he tells him that he's fucked Cersei, and it's obviously time for a fucking fight. So we get this fight between these guys. They disarm each other. Jaime clubs him with his metal hand. Euron stabs Jaime with a knife. It's like a long knife, though. It's probably like a foot long, I would guess. And I was thinking he was dead at that point, but he ended up, surviving a little longer than that. So, but then we go back and see Qyburn inform Cersei that the Unsullied have breached the Red Keep and that this isn't the safest place to be anymore. She goes with him, and now we also see wildfire going off. So I guess that the reserves that the old Mad King had under the city were still there, and Daenerys is the one that's blowing them up. So burn them all ended up actually happening. Then we get back to the Euron Jaime fight. Euron's just like, you fought well for a cripple. And Jaime kind of sees his sword and starts crawling towards it. Euron stabs him again, but then Jaime stabs him right through the gut with his, I believe, with his Valyrian steel sword. I forget. Widow's Wail. That's what it was. Widow's Wail, the one that was originally Joffrey's. So Jaime kills Euron, and then Euron just keeps going, I got you, though. And then he says to himself after Jaime leaves, I'm just happy to be the man who killed Jaime Lannister. Euron is an absolute legend. I'm sorry. Like, this show needed a charismatic villain like him. I'm sorry. Like, it's like, I don't know. I always hated Christ, there are so many names in this show. I'm starting to forget them one by one. I always hated Ramsey, but he was charismatic. Like there was something like kind of larger than life about him. And when he died, the show kind of lost something with his death. And I feel like Euron kind of brought that same element. And now we don't even have him either. So him dying is, it was inevitable. We knew it was going to happen. It's kind of interesting that it was Jaime to kill him. They killed each other effectively. Like I know Jaime didn't die directly because of Euron's injuries, because we would see him die later, or we think we would see him die later. But like, if he hadn't died in that way, it totally would have been like he would have succumbed to Euron's stab wounds. But then we see Sandor and Arya in the castle, in the fucking map room that we saw at the end of season 7. I'm sure we've seen it plenty more times than just that. And he tells her to go home, that like Cersei is basically already dead. And she's just like really stubborn and wants to kill Cersei. And he tells her to look at him, and that this is what a person looks like who's sought vengeance their entire lives. I've lived with nothing but vengeance in my heart. And if you come with me, you will die here. And then she thanks him. So I thought that was kind of a sweet moment, but I'm also like kind of weirded out that Arya was so easily persuaded to not try and finish her list.
Dude, that pissed me off so fucking much, man. Oh my god. Look, being completely serious, because I'm gonna crap on Sandor later, but it's not gonna be here. The relationship was one of the more unique ones on the show. I appreciate what they did here. I just have 2 gripes. And I think they're 2 big ones. One, you should have had this conversation earlier. You're literally having this conversation with her when she's at the site of where she wants to be, because that's where Cersei is. You didn't have this conversation with her on horseback. You didn't have this conversation with her last episode when she told you she wasn't planning on coming back. You just kept riding on with her. Like, the idea that you choose now to take this principled stand, I'm sorry, it fucking annoys me. Maybe I'm too sensitive because I just didn't enjoy the episode, but you really couldn't have this conversation with her at any other point when they were riding to King's Land. Like, no, it just really rang hollow to me. And 2, on the Arya side, are you fucking kidding me? She goes through like all of this, seeing her father die, going through all of the training again, serving the God of Death with that group. The League of
Faceless Men.
Beg pardon?
Faceless Men.
Faceless Men. You go through all that. That when she killed fucking, what was it, was it Blackwater, or what, when
Walder
she had
Frey?
Walder Frey, yeah.
Walder.
Walder, when she did all of that and she took great pleasure in it. This is your fucking breaking point. The words of a man that, like, I know you're close to, but like, it isn't Sansa, it isn't Jon, it isn't Gendry. It's the fucking guy that only like a little bit before you did leave to die from his own injuries. I'm sorry. It was fucking stupid. And it was a real betrayal to me of her character. She's supposed to be this avenger, this person that takes revenge on other people. And I'm sorry, Game of Thrones. Like, and I know we were kind of like talking about it before going live. I wonder how the books are going to treat characters like Arya. I heard the Euron Greyjoy character was a lot different in the books than he was here. Yeah. Like, you're really going to do a fucking morality lesson?
Book Euron is much more menacing, like legitimately terrifying.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard. And the show,
there are like all kinds of legends regarding Euron, that he might be able to control a dragon. He might be able to control a kraken. Like, he's fucking horrifying in the books.
Yeah, and like this fucking show that's hailed as like great television hell. On Last Week Tonight, John Oliver recently joked, when this show ends, HBO's fucked because they've made a shit ton of money with this fucking show. This fucking show is going to be so ham-fisted as to do the morality lesson. Revenge is bad, okay? And like, it works. At least in this context, in this episode, when Cersei was one of the big fucking names on the list, given what the Lannisters have done to the fucking Stark family, it works. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sorry. I don't know how anybody else feels in the chat. I don't know if anybody's been reacting to what I've been saying, but I just feel like that was so fucking stupid, dude. I did not vibe with this at all. I vibed with it in the sense that, like, it seems sincere, and these characters always did care about each other in their own weird way, and it was exhibited, and I can appreciate it for that. But as far as like characters staying true to their arc, nah, nah, I wasn't cool with this at all. I fucking hated this completely. And really the chat that I was watching this in, they put it up perfectly. So you rode all the way out here for nothing. You rode all the way out here to get that whole, well, you know, Arya, revenge isn't always the best thing. I mean, look at me. I only have half a face. You don't want to be like me, do you? And it fucking like, I hated it. I hated it. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
I mean, he didn't do the old like look at me thing because she wanted him, or he wanted her to see that he had a burned face. Like that was not the reason for it. It was more like he's dead behind the eyes because he's lived his entire life knowing nothing but revenge. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I get that, dude, but I stand by everything else I said prior. Like,
Yeah.
this was stupid. I hated it. So what came after this?
Oh man. We see the roof crumbling on Cersei and her Queensguard. Zombie Gregor manages to protect her, but then Sandor shows up, takes out 4 members of the Queensguard with ease, and then kind of just comes down to him and Gregor, and Cersei commands Gregor stay by her side, then Qyburn too, but Qyburn was stepping out of line and Gregor kills the shit out of him without even barely trying. And then Cersei just like leaves, like she just bails. She walks right past Sandor. Sandor doesn't react to her at all, and it's fucking Clegane Bowl time.
Oh my god, that old fuck dying was hilarious. Oh,
I gotta tell you, man, like, was his death hilarious? Undoubtedly, yes. But was his death also like really disappointing to me? Also, yes, because like, do I love the Qyburn character? No, but there are so many loose ends with him that I hate that we didn't get any kind of like follow up to. Like, this is the same dude who like resurrected the Mountain, basically took him from dead to living, and obviously living and conscious enough that he recognized his brother and was like willing to go against Cersei's orders to try and kill his brother and like finish the job there. And then like we saw him in season 7 grab the hand of that white and just kind of stare at it menacingly, like, oh, there's some work I can do with this. No follow up to that. Like, Qyburn was supposed to be like this like mad doctor, and he just got Frankensteined.
yeah. The Clegane Bowl to me. So yeah, the guy dying, Qyburn, that was fucking hilarious. But I do agree with you, like about the loose ends, and it would have been nice to follow up on that. But you know what? This episode, with how pissed I was at some parts, that comedy, especially with my dark fucking sense of humor, was freaking great. You come back here now, the cracked skull. Just, oh my god, incredible. And then yeah, Clegane Bowl. So
Yeah.
what do you think of the Clegane Bowl now that it finally
Sandor starts kind of whacking away at Gregor, and he knocks off his helmet, so we get to see zombie Gregor in full. Their swords kind of they swing their swords and they clash, and at that point we actually cut back to Cersei entering the map room and finding Jaime there. And when he was first there, I was like, is it really Jaime though, or is it Arya who's actually like said fuck off to Sandor and decided to kill Cersei instead? And no, it was actually Jaime. It was totally him. Like, he had the metal hand, he had the wounds from being stabbed by Euron. It was 100% him. So they hug. She's bawling, crying in his arms, and it seems like, you know, they're back together, and you know, he's trying to kind of calm her down a little bit. She sees that he's hurt, but he's just like, oh, it doesn't matter. Then we go back to the Cleganes. Sandor gets what should be a winning stab on Gregor, but Gregor seems pretty unfazed by it, knocks Sandor down the stairs, and then pulls the sword out himself. Like, he literally uses his hands on the blade to pull it out of his own midsection. And he's just completely unfazed by it. And then he removes his armor too. So we get to see like his zombified flesh on his chest as well. And then we see Arya walking through the streets of the city as it crumbles. Lots of death and despair going on. Daenerys is truly trying to become the queen of the ashes at this point. Arya ends up in a crowd and like down on the floor. Like, she ends up basically like almost getting trampled. And this is kind of, they did a really beautiful job filming this and editing it in a way that made it seem like Arya and Sandor were fighting a very similar battle, because Sandor was also down on the ground. And we got like back and forth cuts between them until a woman named Nora helped Arya up. and then we see, Gregor choking Sandor up against a wall, and Sandor like stabs him multiple times, like arm, shoulder, neck, and none of it matters. None of it's actually phasing Gregor at all. And then Gregor goes for the eyes, like what he did to fuck, I forget his real name. The Red Viper. John, help me out here.
Red Viper. I'm drawing a blank.
Oh my god, I'm an asshole. I'm so sorry. Oberyn. I keep on wanting to say someone else Martell. I keep on wanting to say like Elia or Ilaria Martell, but obviously it's a dude, so it's not a feminine name. Oberyn. He did the same thing to Oberyn. And as he's trying to basically implode or implode is the right word. Explode or implode. I did it again. As he's trying to implode Sandor's face, Sandor stabs him in the eye with the same knife. And it just stunned Gregor, like he didn't actually kill him with a knife to the face. And it just stunned him long enough that he was going to try and pull it out the same way he pulled out the sword earlier. So Sandor just tackled him through a wall. And it's just, we just are meant to assume that they're both dead.
Yeah, so satisfying to see.
Even though, to be fair, we've seen Sandor take a similar fall off that cliff and he lived.
Yeah. So satisfying to see Sandor die via fire pit. Just amazing. Just for that alone, the Clegane Bowl definitely lived up and even exceeded my expectations. But
you were saying earlier that it was underwhelming to you.
Well, I mean, the episode as a whole was underwhelming to me.
No, but I thought you told me that you thought that the Clegane Bowl was underwhelming.
I mean, yeah, like it was in the sense that I expected it to be more drawn out and like more build up. But
yeah.
really,
I thought that the Clegane Bowl would happen in like a fighting pit, not on a fucking staircase.
Exactly. I was the same way as you. But I mean, you know that I just wanted Sandor to return to the fire. So I mean, I got what I wanted. 10 out of 10. And yeah, like I like the makeup effects for the mountain. Really OP. Somebody in our chat even mentioned, who was it? Cleveland Brown. They said they made the mountain a stronger undead monster than the Night King, and I feel like to a point that's true. Like he took a whole fucking sword. Like again, the chat that I was watching, it was like he's no selling a sword, and it was amazing. But yeah, makeup was good. I felt like I expected the battle to have more intensity, more fire to it. And again, like you, I felt like it was going to be in a fighting pit, so that those things could happen. So the setting was a bit awkward for me. Again, the finish, to use another wrestling term, was, I guess, all right, if not a bit anticlimactic, because it's like, wow, really? Like, Sandor's not even going to, like, stand over the dead mountain and collapse to his injuries. No, they're just both going to go together. Again, I feel like this is just another kind of thing about revenge. Oh, see how it consumed him? So it was anticlimactic, but I hated Sandor. This was a really satisfying way for him to die. So on that end, I'm pretty satisfied.
All right. So then we see back to the street level, and we see Jon and Davos meet eyes, and Jon puts his sword away and shouts, "We need to fall back to the wall." So he and whoever is going to follow him, I guess, which is like probably just like the Northern Army, because I can't imagine the Unsullied or any Dothraki following him are going to follow him to the wall. We see a bloodied Arya waking up to the sound of an explosion. She's in like really rough shape. She's covered in like what I would assume is ashes, ashes, dirt, mud, whatever the hell. And immediately sees a big old building crackle and fall. She runs away from it and manages to live and find Nora and let her know, hey, if you stay here, you're going to die. So they all try and escape, but there are Dothraki still riding through the streets, killing people. And Arya ends up getting knocked over. Then we cut to Jaime and Cersei again, and we get this big emotional moment where Cersei's talking about, I want our baby to live. And Jaime's saying, nothing else matters. And they hug, and the building collapses around them. So we haven't seen their bodies, but it's still probably safe to assume that they're dead. Same with Gregor and Sandor. I hate that we got so many possible deaths in this episode without confirmed bodies to be certain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying, because I think you and I are both going by that movie logic. If you haven't seen the body, you shouldn't assume that they're dead, because they could spring later.
Like,
and
what if Jaime and Cersei got lucky and the buildings like collapsed around them in a way that created like a protective dome around their faces?
Yeah, exactly. Because and especially with the length of these episodes, they might as well be like movies in and of themselves. So to apply movie logic here isn't completely unreasonable. And yeah, like again, another scene that I hated, dude. And I even said, like, just to know that there was precedent for this, and I'm not just complaining out of nowhere. I said on the podcast last week, for those of you that have been exclusively keeping up with our Game of Thrones reviews, that if Jaime really was leaving to be the Jaime that we know when he's around Cersei, you know, doting, loyal, all that stuff, I feel like it would have been a major regression for the character. And he did. You know what I kept waiting for, dude, especially because of the like how some of these scenes were shot, like with her looking at him in a certain way. I kept waiting to hear like a sound effect of her being stabbed. Like I'm not even trying to joke. Like I was
No, dude, when they first hugged in the map room, I was fully expecting that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like when it doesn't happen, I'm just like, wait, you're really going to help her? Like you were 100% telling the truth to Brienne and leaving her with that heartbreak.
Poor fucking Brienne, man. Imagine being Brienne and being in love with this dude who is so in love with another woman that he dies with her in his arms.
Yeah. Like I'm so honestly, dude, I'm so glad Brienne didn't have to see it. Like I would have felt so bad for the character even then. This just felt like such a step backwards. And again, I don't know how our chat feels, if they agree with me, if they disagree with me. I feel like this is a huge step backwards for the Jaime character, and focusing on Cersei. I'm sorry for everything this woman did, for every vile thing she did. Oh, it's for my children. It's for my children. Because like, God, maybe that's a bit triggering for me, because like you know how certain parts of my family are when it comes to their kids. Like she got off way too easy. There is so much blood on her fucking hands, and you give her that death. And again, like they did some things right. Seeing Cersei vulnerable, great. Seeing her in tears, great. Seeing her fearful, great.
But she wasn't even in tears for the right reason. Like she died knowing nothing more than I lost. She didn't recognize the monster that she was. She didn't ever really truly mourn over Tommen's death. She never kind of accepted that she was the reason for Tommen and Myrcella's deaths, and arguably also Joffrey's. Like she never had a complete kind of realization of the monster that she was, and she died without having that realization. Like that's the least possible satisfying death. Like to me, I know everyone wanted to literally just watch her be like fucking flayed the way that Tyrion, or the way that Ramsay was going to do to Theon that one time. But to me, it would have been satisfying enough. Even if she didn't die, it would have been satisfying enough for her to just have that realization of how much of a monster she became and then she ended up being, that like she ruined so many lives, including the lives of her own children, and arguably cost them their lives through her own actions. But that never came. We never got any, like there was literally nothing satisfying about Cersei's entire arc. Like she was the bitch on wheels for 7.5 seasons, and then she died under a building collapse. Like,
yeah, they fucked it up, dude. Because
and then you could even argue that she won too, because her whole thing with letting all those people into the Red Keep was she is going to try and take advantage of Daenerys not wanting to harm innocent people. Well, she won in the sense that Daenerys stopped being unwilling to harm innocent people. You know what? Like she corrupted Daenerys, you know?
Dude, I just need to say two things about this that really aggravate me on the writing and creative side of Game of Thrones. You are now 0-2 with handling big bads, because like the death of the Night King was pretty anticlimactic. And now on the human side, with how many people hate it. Now, don't remember, Cersei had her fan base too. Like I know for a fact.
Well, yeah, I feel like, you know what though? I feel like Cersei's fan base was really just a Lena Headey fan base. Like people that just love the actress's portrayal of the character. Like nobody that I know ever thought like, oh yes, this character is a good character who I want to win. It was all just like, Lena Headey is an amazing actress, and if she ends up, you know, being the actress who portrays the character that wins the Game of Thrones, then good for her. Like that sentiment that I've seen.
Which, I mean, on that front, deservedly so. Like, while I'm praising like actors in a performance, like she's.
And I would say the same thing about Euron too. He was a hell of an actor too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't mean that I want them to win the Game of Thrones.
Exactly, but thinking about the character, shit was fucking weak, man. Especially because what I was getting ready to say before that interlude was Like a lot of people wanted the character to die because of her transgressions. And that's the death that you give her. And I also want to point out that despite all of Cersei's laws, because they've argued like, oh, she's lost the thing that's most important to her, her children. Daenerys lost more than Cersei did. Because Daenerys doesn't have anybody. Like you said, Jon won't even marry.
Well, I mean, Daenerys lost 2 of her 3 children since she considered her dragons her children.
Fair. But Cersei gets to die with the one person that has always steadfastly loved her through thick and thin in her arms.
In Cersei's mind, she almost had a happy ending.
Exactly. And that's precisely the problem, dude. In Cersei's mind, she almost had a happy ending. And that's what I don't like. Because even if you're thinking, oh, my baby, well, your baby wasn't even born. Like, that's the thing, too. Like, not that I'm even advocating.
Yeah, the baby knew no suffering.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not even trying to advocate for cruelty towards Cersei's children because they didn't do anything wrong except for Joffrey. Fuck Joffrey. But,
I mean, even Joffrey was still, like, the product of Cersei putting into his head, like, everyone is our enemy but us.
Exactly. So, like, I'm not trying to say, like, yeah, kill the child, kill it. I'm just saying from the point of that child is still a face, so it's not going to know any pain. It's not even a person. Like, I don't want to, like, get into the whole political, like, moral fucking debate that's happening lately, but, that's just my view. It's not a fucking person. Not going to feel pain, not anything. So you can't even count that as a loss. Jaime is holding you in his fucking arms and has been loyal to you.
He came back for you. And that, I think, is the thing about the Jaime character that pisses me off most. I thought that he finally saw what a monster Cersei was.
Yes.
And when he left her, when she tried to get the mountain to stop him from leaving her, and he said, "You're not going to have me killed," and walked away from her. And she was screaming at him as he was leaving, "Nobody walks away from me." And he did. He left her finally. And this season, even that conversation with Tyrion, where he talks about how he had never seen her for what she was. And now he finally did. I thought that he finally got it. I thought that he was finally ready to admit that she was the worst. And now we're back, and that's the thing too. She hired Bronn to kill him. She gave Bronn a fucking wagon full of gold to kill him and Tyrion. That's Jaime. I'm gonna kill you and the person you love most in the world, other than me.
I'm actually so glad you brought that up. I'm actually so glad that you brought that up again because
it was literally that night. Like, Bronn shows up and is like, "Oh yeah, by the way, your sister paid me to kill you two." Tyrion talks him out of it by offering him Highgarden, and literally that night he sleeps with Brienne again, and in the middle of the night he hops out to go back to King's Landing to be with Cersei. What the fuck kind of character arc is that?
Dude, I feel so sorry for every Jaime Lannister fan that appreciated his arc from like...
That's me! I'm one of those people!
Yeah, from like reprehensible villain.
I legitimately, like, if Sansa and Tyrion weren't going to be on the throne, I wanted Jaime to be the king of Westeros by the end of it. I wanted him to be the Queen Slayer. I wanted him to kill Cersei, and I wanted him to claim the throne. I wanted him on the throne. If it wasn't going to be Sansa and Tyrion, who I'm still standing by is probably going to end up being them, if it's not Jon, because the show's really building it up like it's going to be Jon. If it's not Jon, it's going to be Sansa and Tyrion. But if it wasn't them, I wanted it to be Jaime. And Jaime completely, like this episode and last episode, completely ruined his character for me.
Yeah, dude. He had probably one of the best arcs on this show up until this point, I mean. And like, you just fucking ruined it. You whipped your dicks out and you pissed all over it. Yep. I am so disheartened by this. And I wanted to believe. I really did. I wanted to believe that we were getting faked out and that he was only telling Brienne that because he knew that he wasn't coming back. And like, I'm going to kill her and then I'm probably going to die either by killing myself because I didn't want to do it or just one of her men, even if it's will kill me.
Yeah.
You know that that's the way it went. That fucking character is better than that. Again, every actor and actress, they all played their parts so incredibly well. But if we're talking about characters, which we are, that character deserved a lot fucking better than what they got.
Yep. You ranted on Tyrion, I ranted on Jaime. We both got our Lannister rants out today.
And fuck the Lannisters. So what?
And I love too that like, unless Tyrion really does end up being king, which I'm still standing by is my prediction, even if it's seeming less and less likely as we go. unless that does happen, we can honestly probably end up saying that Cersei got the happiest ending out of all the Lannisters.
That's so fucking gross.
Right?
My God, dude. That's
Oh
so,
my god.
between the
Well, you were right though, by the way. Cersei died on Mother's Day.
oh yeah, well, I can't even take credit for that, brother. I just reported to you what I was seeing from other people speculating.
Yeah.
Happy fucking Mother's Day, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Cersei died, and the mother of dragons became a motherfucker.
And maybe this is just me like nitpicking at this point because I really just want to keep digging my heels into Cersei. I almost hate too how in her final moments they almost like tried to humanize her to me.
Oh, they totally did. They like there were even I was talking to Abel, and Abel even said they almost got me to feel bad for Cersei there.
Yeah, like, are you fucking like I could rant on this for another 30 minutes, and I know we don't have that time. So I'm just gonna put a pin in it. But the one thing I will say is you're gonna try and humanize this bitch after everything we've seen her do. Fuck off. That is some backwards, almost like gaslighting bullshit. Like, oh, she's not so bad. See, she does love the children. I don't give a fuck. Her
We've
children.
known that. We've known that. Tyrion's known that. Everyone's known that she loves her children. It's just at what cost, right?
And not only that, but, and again, maybe because this hits a little too close to home for me, it may have touched a nerve, but you got to classify like what kind of love that even is. Because if you really loved your fucking child and you really wanted to see it through, you would have taken the offer for peace literally made last fucking episode and not killed Daenerys' best friend. Like, see, this shit needs to be challenged, dude, because I also find that unhealthy. Like, we can't just say that, like, oh, see, she does love. That's not fucking love. That's sick. And I've known both, so I can speak on this. That is sick. Oh, I killed innocent people, but I did it for you. Don't put that shit on me. You didn't do it for me. You did it for you. That dude, honestly, you know what show that brings to mind for me if we're talking about TV shows and characters and writing and all that? That's why I fucking love Breaking Bad. Because for all the shit that people gave fucking Skylar White, one of my favorite scenes in the final season, oddly enough, the same way we're in the final season of Game of Thrones, Walter fucking breaks in. He knows it's going to be the last time he sees her. And they're talking, and she even says to him, if you say that you did this for me and Walter Jr., your kids, because I think she was also pregnant. And he cuts her off and he said, I did it for me. I did it because I was good at it and I loved it. And you know what? I fucking love that because they didn't give him any recourse. Like he himself even owned, I'm a monster, but I loved being a monster. And you know what? I respected it because I'm like, at least this dude is fucking honest, right? But when you go and you're like, oh, see, she wasn't so bad. She did it all for the children. Tyrion was right all along. No, he fucking wasn't. Because he thought she wouldn't even let it get this bad for her children. But she did let it get that bad because her view of love is fucking warped. And that could have been a fascinating commentary, but you didn't fucking, in my mind, they didn't fucking take it. Fuck this show right now, man. Jeez. Okay, what came after this? We gotta keep this going. Because like I'm getting hot now. What the fuck?
After the Lannisters have the building collapse around them while they're hugging, we see ashes in the air in the streets. It seems like everything's kind of calmed down finally, and Dany seemingly has kind of backed off, and we see Arya somehow still alive, just covered in mud and blood and ashes, and all she sees, other than just wreckage and like chars around her, the only living thing that she sees is a white horse. And she approaches it and shushes it and then mounts it and rides it the fuck out of there. And honestly, this was probably my favorite scene in this entire episode. Or at the very least, my favorite scene since the bell rang and Daenerys lost her fucking mind.
Yeah. It was fine.
It's definitely a biblical reference because there's a verse in the Bible that says about how death rides a pale horse and hell follows with him.
Oh, see, I was gonna ask you if you felt like the horse was symbolic of anything, with it being like a white horse. Yeah. You know what, dude?
This is what I wanted to talk about. This is the tweet I wanted to talk about. I think Arya is going to be the one to kill Daenerys. That is my official prediction. I even predicted that during the episode. I tweeted it out just in case it would have happened by the end of the episode. I'm convinced now that Arya is killing Daenerys because I was convinced for the longest time that Daenerys is just going to die in childbirth while giving birth to her and John's child. But there has been no evidence from anyone that she's even pregnant. Like she's not dealing with morning sickness or anything. So she's probably not even pregnant. There's probably nothing going on there. And I think Arya is going to kill her. And she might even do it wearing John's face. I don't know.
I was even going to ask you that.
I think you have to, in order for you to use someone's face, I think they have to be dead. So that seems a lot less likely because that would require John's death in order for that to happen. But I don't know, man. I think Arya is going to find a way. I think she's going to be the one to kill Dany. If she doesn't, John certainly will. John is going to do the whole fucking Azor Ahai thing and plunge his sword into quote unquote Nisa. So yeah, it's going to be one of the two of them. It's either going to be John or Arya. I personally would prefer Arya, but I guess Arya's already gotten a big kill this season, so maybe it will be John because he hasn't yet.
You know what, dude? I'm gonna pull a classic TwitWow trick here, and I'm gonna find positive. I'm gonna make my own fucking positive in this negative. I hope that because Sandor reached through to Arya and she backed out, that she's not morally sullied. Like she's kind of retained her conscience. I hope because of that she takes the fucking Iron Throne. Because unlike John, she's not weak-willed. Like you literally used the term. I think you used the term like pussy whipped in this review about John because of how quickly he bends the knee, literally and figuratively, to Daenerys. So to me, he doesn't have the spine for leadership. I'm sorry. I'm really getting sick and tired of people talking about John's virtues for leadership. If he was the king of my fucking country, I'd shit myself. But Arya, I think, has John's goodness, but also has the courage and conviction that he doesn't when it really matters. And I think she sees things.
I don't think Arya is going to end up in any kind of leadership role either. Like, I really don't.
Well, then, if I can't have that as my silver lining, my secondary silver lining is I hope Sansa takes it and Arya backs up.
Like, Sansa, I think, is... And you know what, though? I think even if they offered it to Arya, I think Arya would be like, no, Sansa should be the one in lead now. Like, Arya recognizes, she even said in episode 1 that Sansa's the smartest person she's ever met. So
yeah, and she even said that again recently, like a few episodes ago. Like, yeah, Sansa's the most intelligent woman I know. So yeah, no, that's my silver lining. I want Sansa on the Iron Throne. I want Arya to back her up. Jon can die, Daenerys can die. And honestly, I'd like Tyrion and Sansa to wed. But even if Tyrion dies, and maybe that leads to like Daenerys dying, that's what I'm so done with the character at this point. Like that would be the last really good thing that he would do for the show is like being the catalyst for Daenerys to die. So
yeah,
throne. That's
man,
you, brother. Like that's where I'm at. Like I don't mean.
No, I totally get it. I'm just like really. I'm not even sure what to expect from episode 6 anymore because. Like we're either going to get another battle between Jon's army of northern troops and Daenerys's army of whoever is left of the Unsullied and Dothraki, or we're going to just get that silent assassination where someone's going to take out Daenerys one-on-one somehow. I don't know. And the thing is, even if that does happen, though, like she still has a dragon left. Like I don't know, man. I'm really unsure because. Man, I'm officially at the point that I have no clue what to expect for the finale. And it's like normally when we get into a season finale or especially a series finale, we're like, okay, well, they need to wrap up this, they need to wrap up that, they need to wrap like I don't feel like there's anything that the show necessarily needs to wrap up just because like they seem perfectly content not wrapping things up. So why would I, make a list of things they need to wrap up if it's completely futile because they're just going to not wrap everything up that I want them to anyway.
Yeah. I got to tell you, well, two things, kind of Game of Thrones related here as far as like content goes. One, I would urge everybody, I don't know if I would have the patience or the time to, but everybody that's like a hardcore fan or at least wants a better experience than this, probably read the books. I'm guessing the books are going to have a far better.
I'm planning on it. Like I'm
if not reading audiobooks too. I want to remind everybody that is an option,
Yeah, that's where I'm going. Cause like I'm at the point now that like I am so disappointed in the way that this season has turned out. And like I was super disappointed in the way that they handled the death of the Night King. and I'm super disappointed in the way that they handled the Jaime Lannister character and the Tyrion Lannister character and the death of Cersei. Like, there's just been so many poorly handled arcs and characters that I really just want to know how George R.R. Martin intends to finish everything out. Because, like, I know that the show writers had like a general outline, but they didn't know every detail. I really hope that George finishes off the last two books before he dies, because, man, the show is just not a satisfying ending at all. And I'm sure we're still going to end up watching the spin-offs together.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, but like, good God, I don't know what the hell they were thinking with this episode.
The second thing I wanted to say, because I know you and I watch this person like always, I honestly can't wait for Bridge 4's take on this, because
Yeah,
salty on it. Like, I think that's everything you need to know, because I was even seeing like stuff from him today on YouTube where he was like kind of disengaging for a bit, because I guess like last season he got spoiled on some stuff and he really wanted to enjoy these final two episodes. Maybe he enjoyed it, and if he did, I'm happy for him. But if he didn't, I'm sorry for him. Because to be that hyped about a show, to be that invested, I mean, hell, we're wrestling fans. We get that. How many times have we been hyped by a pay-per-view only to be let down? And now, like, for a lot of stuff, we go in with low expectations. But I think with TV, it's kind of sacred, because you follow characters, you follow these arcs, and like, it's not like wrestling. It's not going to go on forever. It's going to end, so you hope that the journey is enjoyable. And for the most part, it has been. Like, look, one really bad episode for my money, doesn't discount like a whole series worth of memories and fun and epicness.
No matter how hard it tries to.
How hard it tries to, but just in isolation. And I said it on Twitter, and I'll say it again here, and I think I even said it at the intro. This was the worst episode to me in Game of Thrones series history. Like, this was just really bad. I really didn't care for a lot. You guys even know that we got to a point in the episode where Ashton just was go scene by scene. I said, I didn't care for this. I didn't care for this. I didn't care for this. I just feel like they did a lot wrong. I don't. And see, when you have an episode like that, and you have people feeling like this, this disgruntled, and this next episode is your last one, you're either going to be like a Breaking Bad, which, I mean, obviously every ending is a matter of debate, but that seemed to be more well received, or you're going to be a fucking Dexter. Which one is Game of Thrones going to be? And that's the question that it's going to have to answer next week. So yeah, man, that's really all I have to say about everything. Again, for you really hardcore Game of Thrones fans, or even those that like got into it and just want a better experience, books, audio, textual, I don't care. Give yourself that better ending. And hell, even if you're like, the book seemed like too much work, I bet you, and I'm not even kidding here, I bet you there are people that do Game of Thrones fan fiction that have written better shit than this fucking episode. Like, treat yourself, no matter the form, to a better experience tonight. Because
dude, imagine if the information that George R.R. Martin gave to the producers of the show was intentionally stupid to promote his own books, to get people that much more interested in the books themselves.
yeah, oh my God.
The absolute madman playing 4D chess on everyone.
Yeah, he really is playing the Game of Thrones right now, if that's magic. But yeah, man, I'm good. So, like, do you have anything else you want to say before I do my half of the intro and then hand it over to you? Is there any other like talking points or whatever that you want to go through? Because I don't want to like cut your time short.
No, I don't have anything else to add. We talked about pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. My big things were disappointed in the way that they handled Jaime. Still pretty content with the way that they've written the Daenerys character, and not as angry as a lot of people seem to be about that, just because I kind of feel like she's kept it consistent, and this is just what she looks like without any moral compasses steering her in the right direction. And then the third big thing for me, actually, there was another big thing, which was Cersei's death being incredibly underwhelming and really disappointing, and really kind of ruined a lot about the show for me, because like so much of the show kind of hinged on her getting her comeuppance, and that just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And like the only other big thing was I'm actually blanking. So there was another big thing, but I forget it. It was Jaime's character. Oh, Arya is going to kill Daenerys. That was the fourth big thing. That's what I was going to say. So
All right. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody because we actually got the nice turnout that I wanted. We were holding steady at like 13 live viewers. It took a while to get to that uptick, but once it got there, you guys were fantastic. Great interaction in the live chat. We got a few new people, Beast Mode and I felt like we got, Richu 1974. Fred Williams had a comment in there, Robert Davis. So, like, a lot of new people joined us for Game of Thrones. If you guys like what you heard, I do invite you all to join us next Monday because we are primarily a wrestling channel, and next Sunday is Money in the Bank. We're going to be doing our preview and predictions for that. What would that be, Ashton? Friday, right? So,
yes, Friday at 9 p.m., I believe.
Friday at 9 p.m. We'll be doing that. In fact, I'm looking right at the TwitWow schedule, so I can answer that for myself. So, yeah, next Sunday will be Money in the Bank Live Reactions. Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 6, the series finale, will be Monday, May 20th at 6:30. We go live with that, and we'll talk about everything. And I hope it's better than this. But, yeah, in the meantime, thank you guys so much for coming out. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed yourselves. And, again, for Game of Thrones people, we will see you 6:30 on May 20th on Monday to discuss the series finale. For wrestling fans, however, we will be seeing you on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for days 1 and 2 of Best of Super Juniors. It's fucking happening. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, it's SmackDown live reactions. Really, this next week and some change in wrestling, I'm looking forward to because BOSJ is beginning. We're doing NXT live reactions on Wednesday. BOSJ days 3 and 4 is going to be on Thursday at 5. Money in the Bank preview predictions, my favorite pay-per-view of the year. That's going to be Friday at 9, and then live reaction Sunday beginning at 7. I can't wait to talk about this pay-per-view. I can't wait to share my hype with all of you and my cohort and commentary. So yeah, I talked about what Game of Thrones fans can expect. You'll see us next Monday, 6:30. And for wrestling fans that know TwitWow for what we do, we'll see you on Tuesday for the beginning of Best of Super Juniors. It's going to be fucking tight, y'all. I can't fucking wait for this shit. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to my core and commentary. Ashton, would you be so kind as to take us all home, sir?
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. We hope that you all enjoyed this discussion that we've had about the 5th episode of Season 8 of Game of Thrones. If you did, please like the video. You can also subscribe to the channel if you're new. Click the bell icon for notifications. Follow us on Twitter and Twitch. Like our Facebook. Buy our merch on Teespring. Donate to the Patreon. Share this video. Share this channel. All that stuff. John already went through our schedule for the next week, so we do hope that if you're here for Game of Thrones, we'll see you next Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're here for wrestling, we'll see you on Tuesday for BOSJ days 1 and 2 block match live reactions and SmackDown, and then Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Sunday, etc., etc. But regardless of what you're here for, all that we ask is that you remember to stay tuned.